Hello, colleagues. Today, we're going to examine the question of whether it makes sense to claim Social Security early if you believe that the Social Security Trust Fund is going to be depleted in the year 2033. As always with these types of questions, there's a trade-off between reward and risk, and so we'll focus mostly on the reward side of things, and then at the end, we'll talk a little bit about risk. We'll also take a look at what happens to your Social Security benefit if the trust fund isn't depleted. Would it make sense to wait or collect Social Security early? So with that, we're going to jump into a quick animation to explain how things would look like. Simple math. This is the kind of thing you can easily follow along at home with and change the numbers to match your own specific needs. Okay, so first, the basic calculation is very straightforward. Fundamentally, it's the benefit amount you get each and every year multiplied by the number of years you collected, right? Pretty straightforward. As is well understood, claiming Social Security early as age 62, allows you to get the benefit for more years, but you're only getting 70% of the full retirement age benefit you'd get if your retirement age is 67. So that's our first element to the benefit side of things. Second, the trust fund isn't going to be bankrupt as such. In 2033, it's forecasted to pay about 77% of the promised benefit. So in our animation, we're going to take a quick look at how this will play into your calculation. The second part of this is, of course, the number of years you collect the benefit. On the starting side of things, you have control over this, right? You can choose anywhere between 67 and 70. Claiming early, of course, gives you 5 more years of benefit, albeit at that lower rate discussed earlier. The second thing is, obviously, there's an end point to the number of years, which is when you die. So for 62-year-olds, on average, males live to be about 82 years old on average. Half of you will live longer. Females, congratulations, you live to 85 on average. Again, fully half of you will live longer than this. So those are our two elements to the formula. And so we'll start taking a look. And so for our example, we're going to take somebody who would be collecting $10,000 a year at age 67, but we're going to start by looking at this person who collects early at age 62. So they're only getting 70% of that full benefit, so they're getting $7,000 a year. So the first year, they're money ahead. Next year, another 7,000, another 7,000, another 7,000, another 7,000. So after 5 years, the early retiree has already collected $35,000 more than somebody who's going to wait until full retirement age. A couple of points. This is the largest this gap is ever going to be. And so every year after this, the advantage of collecting early starts to diminish. Second, and a way to think about this is $7,000 is only 70% of the full amount. So if the full amount is 1 year of benefits, $7,000 is 70%. So by age 66, through the end of that year, $35,000 is the equivalent of 3.5 years of full retirement benefit income. So age 67, here is our full retiree, and they collect their first $10,000. And now we can see that gap between retiring early and retiring at full age is declined a little bit from $35,000 to $32,000. And this continues for another year. Now the gap declines a little bit more, but what happens in this year 2033 when you are turning 69? And again, we're talking about a retiree who turns 62 at the beginning of 2026. Well, here we're starting to see the effect of the Social Security Trust Fund being fully depleted. And remember, the benefit is being reduced to 70% of the original amount. So instead of $7,000, the earlier retiree is getting $5,390. Our full age retiree is going from $10,000 to $7,700. So let's see what happens over the years as this starts to take a toll. So every year, the numbers keep coming in just as we would expect, and we'll assume this just occurs year after year. And then we get to right around age 81. And here's something interesting. At age 81, the benefit from retiring early in aggregate is less than that of waiting until full retirement age and collecting full retirement benefits. And so this is the first age, regardless of gender, this is the year at which the benefits change, the total changes, so retiring early doesn't have a numerical advantage over retiring at full age. So this is age 81 for everybody. Age 82 is about average life expectancy for males. So if you're male, fully half of you have a good chance of living longer than this. And we can move forward in years a little bit. Females, on average, you'll live to age 85, 84.5 to be technical. But again, here, for you, waiting till full retirement age has a pretty clear and substantial benefit. And we'll run this animation just a little bit farther up through age 95. And even at age 95, nearly 5% of males and nearly 10% of females are still alive and collecting a benefit. So this is the simple stack up chart that shows how the benefits accrue over time and sort of where the crossover point is. There's another way to look at this, and here's the same data just on a different type of chart. And this shows all the ages and the difference between collecting early and claiming early and claiming late. So black line, claiming early, $7,000 at age 62. Blue dotted line, collecting at full retirement age, $10,000 a year, but not starting until age 67. And again, we see the bend point at age 69 where those benefits are reduced because of the Social Security Trust Fund. And here we see the crossover point at age 81. Male mortality average at 82, females at 85. But another question then is, okay, so this is true if the Social Security Trust Fund is depleted, but what if it wasn't depleted? We won't do the full animation, I'll just show the result. Here, if the Social Security Trust Fund is going to remain unchanged, then we see the actual break-even age is as early as age 78. So at age 78, 62% of men, 73% of women are still alive at this point. So here we've got our original promised benefits all the way through, and the break-even point comes much sooner, and of course the magnitude of these changes increases. So what are our observations? If benefits are reduced, break-even is 81, not reduced, 78. Something that's important that I'm not modeling here is claiming early has a negative impact on survivor benefits. So if you have a lower earning spouse who is likely to collect spousal benefits and survivor benefits, those benefits for a survivor are permanently impacted if you claim Social Security early. And I'll do another presentation to talk about that in a little more detail. So one thing I would like to offer is the idea that Social Security should be thought of as insurance. On your pay stub, it says SSI or OASDI. The I stands for insurance, folks. It's not a retirement plan, but it's good insurance. It reduces inflation risk. It reduces market risk, which would be like the volatility in your returns if you have an IRA, 401k, stock market fund. And it reduces longevity risk, that risk of outliving your money. So the analogy I would offer is, Social Security is a little bit like an inflatable life raft, and you can choose to get on it early, but you're only able to inflate it up to 70%. And maybe that's great if you're not going to be in that life raft for very long, and if the seas don't get choppy. But when we look at mortality, a lot of you are going to be in that life raft a really long time, and it makes sense for this very solid, guaranteed income stream. You're going to want to maximize it because it's the only thing on earth that does what it does. So I'd strongly encourage you to think about the risk side of the equation as well. Don't just claim Social Security early because you can. In fact, I will claim the following. If you can't afford to retire without claiming Social Security early, then you can't afford to retire early. It's too risky. And for folks, there are a lot of folks who've worked hard their whole lives, get to retirement age, don't have a ton of money set aside. For you folks, despite your hard work, it's even more critical than for the wealthy folks to make sure you really calibrate this carefully and be disciplined as you have been your whole lives in making good financial decisions and managing your money. Lastly, all the caveats apply. I'm not an actuary, I'm not a CPA, financial planner. Any of you who want to speak up and improve this analysis, by all means, please do so. And the other thing is, there's a lot of other scenarios that affect Social Security. So I'm not getting into all the esoteric examples that could conceivably happen. So I hope you found this presentation useful and interesting, and that helps you frame up your thought process around when to claim your benefits. And good luck to all of us. Have a great day, everybody.